Download the AllStar app. Make your picks for UFC fights, challenge your friends, level up and win prizes. Link in description. Get it now. Let's start with the first topic, man. We're going to get into it right away. Dan Henderson. Before the show, I was asking these guys if they knew who Dan Henderson was, and they laughed at me. And, whatever. But Dan Henderson, he was doing an interview, I think, on the Rampage Jackson podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And he was saying how Jon Jones is comparable to Lance Armstrong. Well, basically what he's saying is Jon Jones is a PED user, like Lance Armstrong, and that's how he won all his championships, right? And he should not be GOAT status. What do you think of that? And, extra detail into this story is that Dan Henderson, during his career, had a TRT exemption for a period of time, right? Before anybody really even knew anything about TRT. And before TRT Vitor came on the scene, and we seen what kind of destruction he did. Bisping doesn't even have an eye. But yeah, like, what do you think of these comments, right? What do you think of Dan? Like, Dan Henderson is, of course, he's a legend. Jon Jones is a legend as well. Lance Armstrong's a legend too, man. These are all legends, right? It's weird. Like, they're all compare each other to other legends. Isn't that odd?
Yeah.
It's like a diss.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah, it's interesting.
But I feel like at the end of the day, no matter what PEDs you take, you still got to step in that cage. You still got to do it. You still got to, you know what I'm saying? Like, people get older, people take different things and supplements. And Jon Jones, as far as PEDs, I mean, which one of our quote unquote GOATs didn't take PEDs? If you really want to think about it, if you go back to Anderson, if you go back to Chuck, if you go back to Fedor,
there's only GSP.
I was gonna say there's only GSP,
Yeah,
and he would be the only one that I would say is probably the easiest,
the
to say
cleanest.
is, because he's the squeaky clean one.
I think it's just a complete different era altogether. It's like back then everyone was juicing.
Yeah.
Have you ever see like Chael Sonnen? He said, like, when he grabbed the hold of Jon Jones and like they were grappling with each other, he goes, "I knew he was on steroids because I was juiced up as well." And so it's like it's a complete different era to now, like, so yeah.
It's just more regulated now. But I mean, like, the thing with Hendo saying that is he himself is not saying like, well, he's not the GOAT and you should call me the GOAT and stuff. So thinking about his whole like previous use of TRT doesn't really, like, he's not trying to kick down Jon Jones for the sake of like his own.
Yeah,
I get what you're saying.
As well as that, though, it's like if the comment came from someone who hadn't used any kind of performance enhancers, I'd be like, okay, fair enough, but like it came from someone who was using performance enhancers, so it's just like
it counts
a bit
it
of
out.
a stereotypical
Kettle
kind of
black.
thing.
Yeah, he also talked about Henderson Silva too. He said, because he tested positive as well.
Well, if you look at MMA Junkies and everything, like, they did their like top 30 fighters of all time or something, and their argument for some of the reasons why they put some of the fighters in numbers is because they did have PED scandals. And again, they put GSP as number one because they're saying, look, like, he's the only out of the people that some of the people that we call greatest of all time, like Silva or Jon Jones and everything. Like, Jones got number two on that, and it was simply because of his extracurricular activists, and that also included some of the the cocaine use.
Like,
hiding
I
under
think
the ring.
Those lists and stuff, they're biased.
Of course.
You know what I mean? You know
100%.
why they're biased? Is because if they didn't if they're not fighting in the UFC, or if they didn't fight in the UFC, if there's some kind of like, because why isn't Demetrius Johnson talked about?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say that.
I was literally,
that's my GOAT. Yeah.
Why isn't he talked about? Like, I like GSP as well, but like, I would put Demetrius Johnson over GSP.
Yeah.
But as well as that, it's almost like I feel like he isn't talked about as much as because it's kind of history with the UFC, the whole flyweight division threatened to get scrapped because in Dana White's eyes, the kind of casual fan, wouldn't want to see that. But I hope I'm speaking for the both of you guys. It's like, as an athlete, and like I've done this sport my whole life, I think it was poetry every time
Yeah,
he
yeah,
fought.
yeah.
Bro,
Poetry
it's a
in motion.
flyweight.
Yeah.
I was
Flyweight.
sitting there taking
Yeah.
notes. Are
Yeah.
you kidding me?
So
Like-
it's like I want to say that it's like if you're to, let's say, judge it all off skill set, there's no way Demetrius Johnson can't be in anyone's top 3 of all time. There's no
Mhm.
way.
Yeah.
Like there is no way. Like ridiculous. Like ridiculous.
And what about Jose Aldo? Why didn't they talk
Yeah.
about Jose Aldo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Did Aldo ever have a scandal?
no.
Not to my
He
knowledge,
never
right?
had
No.
any
Yeah.
scandal, but I'm just saying, Demetrius Johnson never had a scandal.
Yeah, I didn't know.
But
Fair.
just for some reason, you know what I mean? Like, because he went to one, maybe, or even Fedor. Like,
Well, if you look,
Fedor too. He
but
made fun of UFC.
the UFC almost never shows like DJ highlights
all.
after he went to
No.
one.
At all,
Like they
yeah.
don't
No.
ever show anything.
He,
of him.
kinda,
And
he
you're
like
like,
erased him.
Yeah.
They like
Yeah.
erased him.
And
From
like,
the-
if
he
you look
got Thanos snapped.
Yeah.
man. Like-
Yeah. But it's like as well, like he's some of the sickest highlights. Suplex to the
Oh,
armbar. It's
yeah.
like sick highlights, and I don't want to say that it's like favoritism or whatever, but I just really think that the casual fan mightn't have been as interested, because you think about DJ, he was around kind of Connor's era and stuff like that, so it was almost like
Overshadowed.
overshadowed
Mm.
exactly by a kind of more popular figure, let's say, you know.
It was also before the flyweight division like kind of exploded.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
people
But
watch the
that was
flyweight.
the
Yeah.
reason, though.
No.
Yeah,
he was
of
the
course.
reason. Yeah.
Of course.
100%.
But he did have the division locked down, and I think in a way, it after he left, it made it more competitive for all these different guys. That's why it
Exactly.
started bouncing around, and people started paying more attention. to it.
100%. I feel like it got to a point with DJ where it was like 6 title defenses, 7 title defenses, 8 title defenses, and it kind of got to that stage where maybe most casual fans were like, "Oh, it's like, why would I want to watch this? I know he's gonna win." You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's like there's not that, because he was
They start watching
he
him
was
on Twitch more.
dominating. Yeah, he was dominating.
if you look at the, like, let's say you could put a Mount Rushmore, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, who's on? How many heads are on Mount Rushmore?
5, I think, right?
5 heads.
I
Or
don't-
is it
Don't look at
4?
me.
Yeah, I'm not a historian. I went to college. I'm not a
I
historian.
went to Mount Rushmore. Like, I literally went
4
there
or
and
5?
saw it
I
on my
think
own.
it's
I think
5.
it's 4 or 5. Yeah.
Let's
5.
just do 5 for the.
5
Alright,
for the
let's
sake.
do
Makes it a
5,
little
like
easier.
5 mics.
Ooh,
Okay.
this
So
is
who's the
good.
top 5, like, in your eyes?
DJ and GSP got to be up
Yeah,
there.
100%. I agree. I agree with that too. With them too, definitely.
Yeah.
I feel like
Silva.
as well, I feel like you could put Jones on there. If we're talking about, let's say skill set, it's like you can't deny skill set. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jones is an animal.
Yeah.
And for that reason, he would 100% be on mine.
You could arguably put Miocic.
You could. No,
Nah,
definitely.
On
I
Mount
would-
Rushmore?
No,
Maybe.
alright,
I
alright.
mean,
I would
consider
put Fedor above.
Yeah, that, yeah,
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 yes.
fair
I would do DJ, GSP, Fedor, Jon Jones.
Is that 4?
Yeah,
That's
that's 4,
four.
but it
and
would
I
be
agree with all 4 of
it
those.
would be between Jose and Anderson for that last
Yeah.
run. Like,
Yeah.
How would you leave Anderson out?
No,
though?
yeah,
no.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, but
it's
it's
hard.
like
Henderson is he was
Yeah.
the most exciting fighter of all time.
Yeah.
Like, he might
Yeah.
not have been the best, but
Yeah.
at his time when he was fighting, like with the belt
yeah,
and doing
you're right,
it,
you're
going
right.
up in weight and
Yeah.
doing it.
Yeah. It just, yeah. It's hard to also leave Jose out though.
Yeah, it is.
It is,
No,
yeah.
100%.
Can
is.
we have 6 heads?
Yeah.
There's enough mountain space.
No,
Just carve it, put it in there.
You know, like we make a Mount Rushmore or whatnot, right? Or list. But like if you really researched it and like dug deep into it, you could probably make a good list. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Seeing
but
the level
also,
of, you know,
I'm gonna.
we left out Connor.
And I was literally about to get to that
Impact,
point.
yeah.
I put Connor on mine simply because that man is a unicorn.
Yeah.
There will be they will
Yep.
never be anyone that has had as much as an impact in the sport than him.
Yeah.
And as well as that though, what he did, he went into the UFC in 2013. He made his UFC debut in Sweden. He fought Marcus Brimage. And then I'm going to say December 2015, he fought Jose and won the belt. If you look at that time frame, how quick that time frame is
Mm.
of him debuting in the UFC and then winning a title, and then the following year he wins the second title.
well, not even just that, but just Connor almost single-handedly made MMA mainstream, right?
Yeah.
Like just with the trash talk and everything. I remember like how, like, because growing up and everything, I started training in like 09 or something like that, right? And I remember like the difference of it being like in 2016, suddenly it went from like a fringe sport to other people were
Yeah.
talking about it. It was a
Yeah.
little annoying that pretty much everybody would just be like, "Hey, what do you think of Conor McGregor?"
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
wow.
And as well, like me being Irish, like I went over to the States a few times for training all throughout that kind of like 2015, 20. I've friends and family out in Belmar in New Jersey, and any kind of like person that come up to me and heard my Irish accent, you know Connor, they'd be like that, and I'd be like, it's just it's like I thought it was very funny, but it's just like he just turned into like a global
Yo,
superstar.
is that racist?
Nah,
Is that racist?
nah.
Think about it.
National.
Because if it was
Nah.
other race, if it was another race,
Nah, that's like
because if
me.
someone said like,
Well,
okay, go ahead.
That's like me going
I
to
think I'm
Tokyo and
thinking
everybody saying like Michael Jordan and LeBron James.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like they don't know no better. So
Yeah.
it's kind of funny, but
It's like, yo, every Irish person know every Irish
Yeah,
person. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like,
yeah.
dude, the
But-
country's
but-
like 50
but-
million or whatnot.
but it's
right?
not really racist. It's more like playful bliss almost. You know,
Yeah.
like it's cool. Like it's cool to know that somebody represents your country and they think of you in that same spectrum.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, you know Jackie Chan?
bro.
Dilly.
You know, like I like just this completely side, but it's like, like I'm from Hong Kong. They're like, "Do you eat fish and rice?" Like, what? Or do you eat cat and dog? I'm like, "Fuck you."
Now that's on a
That-
whole nother scale now. Yeah.
It's like as well as it's like I think like see that people are always gonna have stereotypes of a
Yeah,
country
Of
that they
course,
haven't been in.
Of course.
You know what I mean? It's like traveling, it's like once you see things and how people really are, that's when you're kind of like, oh, okay. But before you go somewhere, I think there's always gonna like
Yeah,
be stereotypes
always,
of like
every time.
area or whatever like that, you know.
Yeah.
So
What are your most racist moments?
Oh man.
Bro, we went to Tokyo together, like experienced racism together.
Yeah.
A black and white man really, bro, it was crazy.
We were the bad guys in my fight, though.
Yes, yeah.
Because me being white guy that represents Hong Kong, and then it was a black guy, and then my other cornerman was French Muslim, and like we're going in there to fight a Japanese guy in Japan, and
Yeah.
and then, like I win the fight and
It's quiet.
everything,
Yeah,
and it was
no,
quiet.
it's
I'm
quiet.
like
Crickets.
bowing to everyone,
Yeah,
and
crickets.
I'm like, I need to get out of here. It's like, oh, shit.
yeah, and then you have the all Irish card. It's like a lot of Ireland's like famous for its alcohol, so it's just like
Mm.
whenever anyone sees like an Irish guy or whatever, they're like, "Oh, I drink Guinness," and they start naming out all Irish beers, and I'm just like, it doesn't bother me though. to be
Nah,
honest,
I-
you know, I
yeah.
think it's just funny.
I think at this point, one of the funniest things about whenever I say I'm from Hong Kong is like I see that most people, at least in the West, seem to think that Hong Kong is in Japan, and I always get like it's like several reactions like, "Oh, like konnichiwa," and I'm like, "Wrong."
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't
Wrong.
work.
Like, but it's like, it's all just like bliss. Like it's like they just don't know any better. But
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're from what? You're from Hong Kong?
Yeah.
Oh man, my girlfriend's friend's boyfriend is from Hong Kong.
Yeah. You're like, oh,
Ah,
okay.
cool.
I don't- it's
Don't you
like
love that?
Yeah,
I all the
always.
time it's like, oh, my cousin's pet goldfish's brother. Is
Yeah.
and you're like, yeah, shall make you like,
Like, what do you say?
You're
But,
like,
I
you don't even
mean,
know what to
But to
say.
be fair, it actually is the same with like when people walk up to you and they're like, "Oh, you do MMA?"
Yeah.
No,
you're
no,
like-
no.
No.
You do UFC?
Oh yeah.
You do that
But they'll
UFC.
be like, "Oh, do you fight or whatever?" And
Yeah.
then they want to tell you some story about like that one time they almost got in a fight, or like how they
Yeah.
did like, some sort of like how they did karate for like a
Yeah.
year when they were like 6, and you're like, "What do I do with this information?" Like, good for you, mate.
Like all my friends, like they were like, and like it's funny. It's like Irish banter, like going back and forth. But like if you like a few of my mates and like you say something like "shut up" for I hit you a karate chop or like something like that, like you know what I mean. now that I do, like,
Bro,
MMA,
it's
you know?
way different where I'm from. When I go home, people like, yeah, bro, you can do all that fighting, but it ain't gonna stand up to a gun. I be like, whoa, bro, whoa, calm down.
Yeah.
Why are you bringing weapons? in?
Yeah,
Uh,
Oh God.
You know those street dudes is like that.
Bro, yes.
100%.
They
They
do
got
not fight
they got
fair.
one answer for everything.
Exactly,
That's
and
a
that's a
knife for a
bullet.
gun, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, they don't play.